But I think you'll see it's just doors open, and you have to be smart enough to know they're opening, but then you have to make choices to go through them. And it works out as long as you keep those principles that you've had about, do your best, the hard work, all the things that got you here, they will serve you well. You'll be fine.
As someone who was lucky enough to win an Ivy League championship, we play softball, and we're just wondering, what was the difference, do you think, in hindsight, looking back, that distinguished the winning squad to the non-winning seasons, or not the non-winning, the non-Ivy League?
The question was about winning an Ivy League championship, and I know Jack probably have some comments on the winning teams too. And I understand you are going to win an Ivy League championship this year. Is that correct? Okay, that's the first piece. You got to have the talent to start with, and so you've got to. Your coaches have to do the right things by getting the talent in, training hard, doing all the right stuff. But I think at the end of the day, winning teams truly is the differences up here. And there is just a sheer will to win, a belief that you will win, a desire to win. And you just leave it all on the field. Now that takes that a little extra bit of effort. And it takes a little bit of luck and a little bit of circumstance too. So I think it kind of is a combination of all that coming together. And people not getting hurt, all that. But I think at the end of the day, when those things come together, then you have the opportunity to win. And then you just got to go for it when that opportunity strikes.
I can tell you, my championship team my sophomore year, which is the team we're having a reunion of, was one of the more unlikely Yale championships ever. Indeed, most people, when they've written about Carm Koza, have said it was probably his greatest coaching job of the 32 years that he had 14 other championship teams. The reason was, my freshman year, the varsity, and freshmen were ineligible at the time. So we had a whole freshman team, 110 guys playing, a regular 8-game schedule. We weren't part of the varsity at all, for all sports. That team was arguably Yale's greatest team. They were undefeated. The only blemish on their schedule was the famous 29-29 tie between Harvard and Yale, with the Boston Globe and the Harvard Crimson reading Harvard wins 29-29. There's a fascinating documentary out, by the way, if you ever get a chance to see it. It's just been out, and it's not just about athletics. It's about what was going on in 1969 in the world. So if you get a chance to see it, it's called 29-29. See it. Point is, that team then graduates. There were, I think, 16 or 15 senior starters. 12 of them were first-team All-Ivy. 3 of them were All-Americans. 3 were NFL draft choices. 1 was the #1 draft choice of the Dallas Cowboys. That's that senior class.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, right. That was that senior class graduating from Yale. Coming back now, my sophomore season, Carm has to put together a team with a very small group of seniors coming back, only one of whom had been a starter. Smaller group, fairly talented juniors. And my sophomore class, as freshmen, we did not win a single game. We were 0-8 as freshmen. And so 8 of us as sophomores are starting first game. We ended up winning. Here's how we had to win the title. We just started winning games, and no one knew why. And there's this great mystery Yale team that was on the heels of the last 2 years, one of the greatest Ivy teams ever. And people were saying, who are these guys? All these guys graduated. All the stars graduated. And we got to the point where, coming into the next to last game, we're playing Princeton. Our only loss was to Dartmouth. We're playing Princeton, a great Princeton team, predicted to win the title. We upset them down at Princeton. So now we come into the Harvard game knowing that if we can beat Harvard, and this is on the heels of this great 29-29 tie, there's 70,000 people in the Yale Bowl to see us play this Harvard game. And we knew if Princeton beat Dartmouth that day and we could beat Harvard, we would share the title with Dartmouth. And midway through the 4th quarter, they announced the score. Princeton has indeed beaten Dartmouth. We now know that this is all in our hands. We're winning 7-0. There's a busted play, and Yale has a 1st and goal to go. Harvard has a 1st and goal on our 4-yard line. And 4 plays later, we held them. And we ran off the field knowing we'd just become Ivy League champions. The point of the whole story was there was not a star on that team. There were some guys that years later became stars. But I don't know, we might have had 1 first-team All-Ivy out of that team, but it was the consummate team. It was a team full of guys who nobody expected anything of, but we expected everything of ourselves. And that was the difference. And Carm Koza will tell you, of all of his teams, it was one of the dinners celebrating him, and I think it was at the 25th anniversary, and he'd had great championships. And the one team that he asked to stand up, in the Waldorf Astoria, there were 1,500 people there, and one team he asked to stand up was his '69 championship team. Because it was all about, no one else had expectations, but we did. And we expected to win, and we did.
I don't have such grand stories, but our team, when I was a junior, won the heptagonicals. So that was a pretty big deal. I was asking some of the track guys from the men's track team when the last time they won the heps, and he couldn't remember. But my perspective, I think, which is more useful to you, is through the eyes of my daughter, who was the captain of the Yale golf team in 2003. And for 4 years, 3 of the 4 years, they were Ivy champions. And they always had talent. That team always had talent. And you'd think that it's an individual sport. But the camaraderie of the girls, their ability to help each other on and off the golf course, made all the difference between the year that they lost, and the 3 years that they won.
I think that will conclude this panel session, but everyone's welcome to stay. We've got refreshments over here and mingle with our panelists. Thank you. Great job. That was very informative.